Men have one organ that defines masculinity. We all have it. And get your mind out of the gutter, John. It's your brain. It's your brain. And here's the thing I'm going to say, I just wanted to get a little clickbait with that, a little hook. We really have four organs that define us: our minds, our hearts, our soul, and yes, our man part. And the bigger all of them are, the better, I would suppose. But here's the thing: men are getting dumber every day. I keep being blown away at the dumbing down of America.
Mm.
And we want to come against that. We want to help that not be you. So, this is Thinking Like a Man in 2026, how to have a mind that is worth trusting. So, that's where we're going to go today,
Yeah.
John.
Yeah. We're in the information age. You just reminded me. I saw the Big Lebowski for the first time like last week. Yeah, Jeff Bridges is so good. There's a scene where a guy tells him that the skin is the largest organ, and he goes, "Maybe for you it is." um, we're in the
He's the
information
dude,
age.
man.
He's the
He's the
dude.
dude.
El
Yeah.
Duderino, for those not into the whole brevity thing, he
Right,
says.
right, right.
uh the information age, and we are getting seemingly dumber or more scatterbrained or less focused. There's what we're seeing is more information does not correlate to a better life, to smarts, to IQ. Those things aren't necessarily the same. The boat doesn't rise and fall on that.
I would agree. And so we're not dumber. What we are is myopic. And where you dial in is starting to algorithm you and dig you in a deeper echo chamber so that
Mhm.
you are becoming a tribe that is defined by the tribe you're in. And you are gaining confidence in a one sided perspective. And so the muscle of thinking is underutilized.
Well,
And we
and
think,
it's a skill set now to discern the noise and to
yeah,
have, and that's called wisdom. And it's a powerful tool. It's a modern essential. So we'll be talking about that today, and we've got four quarters for this conversation. First will be the problem: why smart men are getting played. I like that phrase,
I
getting
do
played.
too.
Second quarter, the traps that make smart guys look dumb or are actually dumb. Third quarter, what good thinking looks like. And fourth, how the past defines the present and seeing the present clearly through the past.
This is a exciting discussion for me and one that I wish the whole country would have. And I'm very excited because I think if we want to change the world, we got to change how we think and how we process information and how we use that information. So I'm really excited about this, John. Before we get started, our opening shtick today is: what are you most excited about as it pertains to the honest path?
I'm most excited about the eventuality, not if, but when
Mm,
more young men can use ideally some of our free tools, but if not, if they want to do it themselves, by all means,
yeah.
to make communities of their own. And we really believe in the power of mentorship, but I'm most excited about peer communities,
Mm,
young men just among themselves, doing life together.
yeah.
It's so powerful. It's something we can't give you here in this medium.
Right.
You have to experience it in the flesh, and we have tools for that. We have more tools coming for that, and I'm really excited for the day when we can see the fruits of that.
Boy, you got me excited. Yours is better than mine because I love that. And the imagination in our hearts is pockets of men gathering weekly or biweekly to encourage one another to process their lives, to become better men, to help other men
Mm-hmm.
become better men. That is exciting, and that's when we will know that we are cooking with gas. So we do, we have our town hall online, which is one small form of that. It's every month, so watch for that at the end of June. And then we also have resources that help you start groups. We can help. We have a step by step guide. If you say, I don't even know where to start, we got you covered.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's available. Your church, if you have a church, probably has men's groups available. You probably got neighbors, but man, thanks, John. I really am excited about that too.
Me too. What do you got?
Well, I'm excited about the growing number of committed partners. So we have a group of partners called the Founders Circle, and these are people who make a minimum of $200 a month commitment to fund the ministry. We're nonprofit now, and that is growing. We had three more last week. It's growing, and that excites me because that says that people are vested in the mission and are willing to put money where their mouth is. And that's a group of people. Our goal is 25 of those. And that's a group of people who really are going to be the backbone of making this happen so that resources are available and free and widespread and reduced cost. Some resources are not free, they can't be free. Others aren't free because it's developmental to invest in your own growth, but they'll be very low reduced and scholarships will abound, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the mission wins because of people committing to it. And I'm really, really
Yeah,
grateful for that.
that's gonna be awesome. My favorite for that is, or most excited for that, is selfish. It's our branding. If you guys have noticed, our branding is made by two guys that don't know good branding. So I'm looking forward to a graphics package. So that's me being selfish and being a media guy.
Yeah.
But
All right, John, what is the problem? Why are smart guys getting played?
it's really a problem of decadence. It's a very privileged problem to have.
Mm,
In the past, the problem was not enough information. I wish I had more information to make my choices.
yeah.
And now the problem is way, way, way too much, the fire hose analogy
Hmm.
information. So it becomes instead of an issue of finding, ore in a mountain, it's now finding the needle in the haystack. It's a different process of gathering information. It's now looking, or maybe it's finding gold in a factory of fool's gold. You're trying to find the real deal in a
Hmm.
whole warehouse of worthlessness.
Well, I liked your comparison of mining for ore in the old days. I got to go find information to now. I got to find the needle in the haystack because I'm flooded with information.
Mhm.
And what we know is that information is not wisdom. And so we are drowning in content, but starving for discernment. And more information has not made us wiser. And in many cases, it's made us more confidently ignorant.
Yeah,
And that's
which is worse. What's the
that's way
saying?
worse.
Misinformation is worse than no information. So in that way, we are uniquely worse off in this digital age.
Yeah. And this is, let's just jump right in here with a thought provoking question for you, listener. Have you shared something online or repeated something to a friend that you didn't actually verify? Now,
Mm,
be honest about that. And this is a universal problem. And this is going to be just one little piece of the difference between information and wisdom. People are slinging information, and there's no accountability for how accurate it is. So, because you saw it digitally, online, passed around, multiplied, it snowballs and becomes truth when actually it bore nothing similar to the truth, or it was at least unwise.
yeah.
So, that's a great starting point right there is just, hey, we got to pay attention and look at the sources of our information as one of the ways of finding our way to wisdom.
Well, and another unique problem of modernity is this cynicism. I think it's unique to our
Mm,
era. So even if you go, hey, I've got this comes from an article on MSNBC, want to go MSNBC, they're woke, or that's propaganda, or
yeah.
that's
Or this came
AI.
from NPR. Oh, they're liberals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So even that becomes a problem. But in a lot of this, I think we're going to discover you have to decide for yourself. You have to decide for yourself which of these sources you trust, which seems to betray what we believe in universal truth.
Yeah.
We still believe in universal truth, but as a man in the world, you have to decide this is what I'm willing to trust. But the
Mhm.
but the the goal here is to actually do it on purpose.
Well,
Don't just receive these things secondhand.
yeah, the old westerns which we love, you
Mhm.
got the snake oil salesman who's driving
Yeah,
around on a wagon and he's selling all manner of elixirs and potions, and somewhere in there were a couple of things that actually worked, but
Mhm.
you might not know what they are, and they were outweighed by the scams to get your money from you.
Yeah,
So that's the same now. Every platform you use is an engagement machine. It is designed to drive you to more engagement, which
yeah,
is to say, it's going to tell you whatever you want to hear and tell you more of it. And so the man who lives inside of his feed is not well informed, he's well managed
yeah.
because the flow of information is managing you. So,
Yeah,
uh,
he's a good little revenue generator for the tech companies is what he is. He's not actually an agent in his life.
yeah. Now we're speaking aggressively here because this matters to us a lot. We are not condescending, and we're not criticizing. We're trying to turn the light on and say, hey, what's going on in here?
Yeah,
And pull back the curtain and show you that the man behind the curtain is not the wizard. He's a man behind the curtain who's pretending to be the wizard. And
Yeah.
so it's really, really important that we find reliable information. So one of the things, John, is where do you get reliable information? You
Mhm.
mentioned MSNBC, I mentioned NPR. People categorize news agencies. A huge Trump supporter bought CBS now, and so 60 Minutes is going through a massive turnover in their reporting
Mm.
groups because they say they're not allowed to mention anything anti-Trump anymore, and so they're
Wow.
getting fired or they're quitting. And so, you would say, well, is there reliable news? John, what are a couple of things? This wasn't intended for us to talk about, but what are some places you can find? And uh, one thing you would say is read the liberal and the conservative. Read it
Yeah.
all so that you at least hear, well, this is what the right thinks and this is what the left thinks. That's a good thing to do. But
Yeah.
John, where are you getting stuff?
Well, I like the thing is that I love these journalism movies. I went to school for journalism. There's this idea of a journalist the same way there's the idea of the cowboy.
Hmm.
There's
Hmm.
in the world there's probably 40 real cowboys alive right now, and the rest are just wearing the shirts. It's similar to journalism,
Yeah.
and um, there's a bias in what you choose to even cover. So that's hard. It's you want to. I would say go to Reuters.
Hmm.
Reuters is where other journalists get their journalism. It's the source of the source,
Hmm.
and it's very bare bones. It's not very sexy. But even there is Reuters didn't say this. There are biases by omission, so it gets very challenging. But I would
Yeah.
say Reuters is a safe bet. If you see something there, it's very real. There's no way it's a lie.
Right.
It
Right.
might still be skewed, but there's no way it's a lie. And then we both like the pour over,
Hmm.
a news
Email.
congregant. Yeah, it's an email that puts together the news of twice a week or three times a week with a Christian bent, an eternal perspective.
Hmm.
And they still are definitely biased, but those are two for me. How about you?
Well, BBC is another source that kind of gives you an outside perspective on U.S. news. So I kind of like that. I I'm trying to remember now the name of this email I get that is uh, they do here's what they'll give you a story and then they'll say here's what the right's saying and they quote several people from the right and they say here's what the left's saying, all that, and then they say here's what I say and this is just my opinion.
Hmm.
And I really like that because I think I'm a fan of all of us hearing all of the arguments
Yeah,
because then you can make up your own mind.
yeah.
And so, yeah, I can't remember what that's called. I'm
If you
struck.
if you remember, we can put it in the podcast guide in the description of this
We'll
video.
put that in the podcast guide. Yeah, because it may be helpful to you.
Yeah,
Yeah. So primary sources beat pundits every time, John, and that's mostly what circulates online is already 3 or 4 steps removed from what
yeah.
actually happened.
Well, and there's the issue. So there's the infinite inputs, and there's also the issue of interpretation. If
Hmm.
you even if it's the same input, two people could read the same primary source and come away with two different things.
Yeah.
So if you're relying on a pundit, even one you trust, and he's reading a primary source and gives you his interpretation,
Hmm.
you're removed one interpretation. So it is really like I think you referenced in the email this week a speech. If someone says, "Oh, the president said this thing," um, go and read the speech with the context or see the clip in the context. With our current president, that doesn't always make it less incendiary, but it does always help.
It helps,
There's
and so read
yeah,
the whole speech, watch the whole speech, read the study. If a study's being referenced, go find the study, and see what the study actually said.
yeah.
Found out where this stuff came from before you form an opinion about what you're hearing.
And here's the thing: all of this assumes that you want the truth. So the great the
Please
great
want the
temptation
truth.
here, please do. The great temptation here is tribalism, and it is the wanting to affirm what you believe, a completely human bent. That is not an incorrect desire.
Yeah,
That's a wholesome desire. So, but you have to want that to go to those sources, or else you'll find that pundit that gives you what you want, and
hmm,
you'll stay there. So we would encourage the pursuit of the truth,
yeah,
and you don't have to agree with the primary source anyway. You
yeah,
can entertain thoughts without agreeing with them.
yeah,
So yeah, yeah,
yeah. So be the man in the room who went to the source. It's a low bar, but that almost nobody clears. Be that guy. Like right now, I'm understanding that the U.S. and Iran have bartered a deal. We've reached a
Hmm.
deal, and already I've seen extreme exaggerations of whether we won on that deal or lost on that deal.
Sure.
And it's whether somebody wants to make our president look good or whether somebody wants to make him look bad. So, what is the actual deal? There's going to come a time when that deal is signed and you'll be able to see the deal. And so, don't jump to conclusions and don't just buy what somebody's selling you. Go to the source and read it because tribal thinking is lazy thinking.
It sure is. All right, let's do some action items before we get to quarter two.
Okay.
First action item for this quarter is to pick one thing you believe and trace it back. I love this. For this could be anything. I think you tend to be more, spend more brain power on the current events, and
Mm-hmm.
I spend a lot. I seem to be more, uh, exhausted by that and more in love with some of the metaphorical thinking or
Mm-hmm.
meaning questions.
Mm-hmm.
But for either one of those things, grab onto that
Mm-hmm.
and pull that rope as far back as you can to find out where that came from.
Yeah. Number two, audit your five most used information sources this week. So look at the places you typically get your information and audit them. See if they are slanted. See what they are typically doing. Ask honestly, do any of these ever tell me that I'm wrong? Like, and if none of the things you look at ever confront you that you're probably wrong, then you don't have enough sources speaking to you. As a
Yeah.
reminder, we give you lots of action items, not because we expect you to do them all, but we're trying to seed bed your imagination so that you'll reach out for one of these various ideas and go, I'm going to do that one, or it'll ignite a new one in your own mind that's not even on our list. We want you to take action because the world bends in favor of those who act.
Yeah. Love it. Next would be to before you share anything online this week, and I would say and in person,
Mm-hmm.
to spend 2 minutes verifying it first. I am I'm very guilty of that. And you can tell if you're talking to me in person, you can always tell when I don't know what I'm talking about when I go to reference a number and I go, I can't remember the figure, but it was really high. I'll say something like that. It was like something like 80%. And the actual
Yeah.
headline is like, 40%, or
Yeah.
it's just how it goes. So that one's for me to verify your sources before you spread something.
Love it. Okay. Ding, 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 ding. Quarter number two, John. Traps that tempt smart men to stop thinking.
Yes, this is about specific failure modes, men who are capable of thinking well and don't do it, which
Mm-hmm.
I'd say is most men. I think the average guy is very, very well capable of this. So one of these traps would be sounding off before you, like we talked about in that last action item in quarter one,
Yeah.
sounding off before you properly do any kind of research or deep thinking about it. And it happens. It's almost like how we talk about phone addiction. You look down and the phone's already in your hand, right? So sometimes before you've even processed information, you're already reacting. You
Yeah.
skip the process stage and you've gone straight into the emotional reaction.
And I think
So
that's standard now for
yeah,
most of us. That's
I
standard.
think so. I think so. So this is again, we talk a lot about building it, widening the gap between stimulus and response. This is part of that. You receive information and just try and live in the moment between that and your response longer.
Mm-hmm. Many men who are capable of thinking well just stop doing it because it's spoon fed us, and when it's spoon fed, you're not getting enough. So, second thought here, John, is that disagreement is a muscle, and that muscle needs to be exercised. If everyone in your circle agrees with you, you don't have a community; you have a mirror, and so your muscle of disagreement, of critical thought, of debate, is not being exercised. And I'm not we want to be really clear. We're not trying to zero in on politics. We're trying to zero in on culture and values.
Yeah.
And man, the intellectual weight. What role should parents play in the development of their children, and what role should the schools play? And um, when is it appropriate for people to divorce, and what makes marriage work? And you just have all these. What is the meaning of sexuality? And do sexual experiences mean anything? And should birth control be used? And if so, what kind and how? And do men have rights when their girlfriend gets pregnant? Do they have parental rights about contributing to the decision of an abortion or not? These are all. There's a lot going on in our world, and people are hurting in some really complicated ways. So it's helpful to be in conversations and to be reading and absorbing information that challenges you to disagree so that you're developing that muscle.
And even as a way to, because the algorithms are so clever, so elegant, it can be hard to find out that you're in a kind of tribal echo chamber.
Mm-hmm.
So even just doing this is a way to stimulate and ensure that you aren't being completely lulled to sleep
Yeah,
by the greater powers of the what is it, technocrats, technocracy? Was that how you'd
I
pronounce
think
that?
so. Yeah. One thing I ask couples to do when I talk to couples who are having conflict in their marriage, one thing I make them do, there's a couple things that are almost always happening.
Mm-hmm.
One is they're not talking about the same thing. They don't think the problem is the same problem. And so there's a lot going on there. So one of the things I require them to do kindly in the process is
You're not cracking the whip.
no, but I say to him, hey, what does she say is the problem? And
Mm.
why does she think it's a problem? And he'll say, and she'll say, and I'll say, ask her, does he have it? She'll go, no, he don't have it. I'll go try it again. Because until he can explain the problem as well as she can, she won't believe he actually understands it. And he probably won't. And the same goes to
Mm.
her. Then I go to her, hey, what does he think the problem is? And why does he think that's the problem? And she can't
Yeah.
get it right almost ever the first time. So I think that for you to disagree with someone, you need to genuinely understand the position they hold.
Yeah.
And until you thoroughly understand it, you're not on any basis to debate it, discuss it, or contribute to it. So
So you're
uh,
saying to basically to put an opposing viewpoint in your own words until you basically feel like they would agree with that statement, even if
yes,
you don't agree with it.
that's right. So let's just take gun control.
Yeah.
If you're a Second Amendment guy, and if you cannot explain the passionate views of a gun control activist as well as they can, where they'd go, yes, then you don't yet understand the argument. And so
Mm.
you're missing an opportunity to think better, to discuss better, to disagree better, to reach better solutions. I mean, the way we get better progress is getting people who passionately disagree about stuff to hammer it all out. And then you go, wow, an idea emerged out of that is brilliant.
Yeah, and it's with athletes, it's like, would you want to beat your opponent when they have the stomach flu, or would you want to beat them at the top of their game? It's like obviously you want to know, even for your own sake, you want to know the real thing you're actually dealing with here, for the sake of your own truth. And
Now,
if you want to be
yeah.
combative about it, then yeah,
So, confession, as an athlete, I would want them to have the flu, but nobody knows it. And that way I get the win, but
yeah,
nobody knows it was compromised.
yeah,
That's how committed to winning I am, which is a flaw, but that's an
that's
interesting.
hilarious.
Yeah, that is
They
an
they
interesting.
call it in the online space right now because you're familiar with straw manning.
Yes.
That's what we're really talking about is don't straw man. The internet right now calls it steel manning. Make
Mm,
your like try and present your opponent's views as strongly as possible. So
yes.
you're steel manning their
I
views.
love that. And one of the problems in our world is that emotional reasoning is the form of reasoning that's most popular. So, because I feel it, it is true. Because
Yeah.
I feel it, it is proper or right or correct. Because I feel it, it's authoritative. So, emotional reasoning is still wrong reasoning. And even if you end up on the right answer, you got there the wrong way. So, strong feelings are real, but they're not reliable. And we live in a culture that is leveraging the weight of the emotion as part of the
Mm,
data points of why that is correct.
yeah. Now help me out with this because we talk about embodiment and we are emotive things.
Mm-hmm.
So you read a headline and the numbers back it up. Like, say, a really intense example is when Norway or one of those Scandinavian countries eliminated Down syndrome via
Yeah.
abortion.
Yeah.
They aborted who knows how many thousands of Down's kids to remove it from their society. So you that immediately provokes for a lot of Christians a disgust response, a sadness, anger, disgust response. And so we could say, well, look at those numbers and really weigh that. But some things I like, you know what I'm saying? What's the tension there on when you can actually trust? No, that anger, sadness, disgust response in that case is valid. That there's not really a lot of statistical judo that you could do to make that okay. You know?
Yeah, that's an interesting example because, they celebrate the fact that there's no Down syndrome in their country. But then you say, well, man, how did they accomplish that? And then
Yeah.
you go, oh crap, that's an aggressive decision. But I think the thing about emotional responses and emotional thinking is that emotions are incredibly unreliable. They put the emphasis on the wrong syllable. They make something bigger than it actually is, or smaller than it actually is.
Hmm.
For example, when you talk about uh, women's rights or abortion at all, you have so much emotions around that, and the emotions cloud the actual factual discussion. And so, or even the ethical discussion or the moral discussion, it's all clouded by really intense emotion that is legitimate on both sides. So women talk about, well, a girl, a 12-year-old girl is raped by an uncle and or her own father, and so you can create all this emotion,
Right.
and it makes the conversation more difficult to translate. My emotions mislead me, even when it's emotions about a thing that should be emotional.
Sure. Yeah.
So I just think
So
it,
no, I see.
yeah,
So you're saying when you're discerning those things, even if the you're still on the same side.
yes,
I'm
yeah.
doing air quotes a lot. Forgive me. I feel like a butthole every time I do it. Um, but it's not helpful to you or anyone else to indulge too far in that emotional side. Or is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say. So, for example, um, in your state, John, there is a lot of activity that is empowering teachers and schools to keep secrets from parents.
Mm,
So, the most hotly debated one is if say, a fourth grader, fifth grader, thinks they have gender dysphoria, and say a boy wants to dress like a girl, and the parents are absolutely forbidding it. The school will let that kid keep dresses at school, go to school the way the parents want him to, change into a dress all day, get back into their clothes and go home and never tell the parents.
mm,
So they consider themselves partners who are protecting the child. Now, what they have seen, that those of us who go, what are you talking about? The parents should never be kept in the dark. They have seen kids who get beat to a pulp by their, redneck dad who thinks he can beat the confusion out of the son.
mm.
And so they want to protect the kid from being abused by they would call hyper conservative, emotional parent. And
Sure.
so they're trying to protect some kids because they've seen kids get hurt. But so you could say, well, hey, that's a valid problem. But your solution is you're natting a fly with a sledgehammer. And
Mm.
so you can talk critically about the solution, even while you understand the emotion that's on both sides of that discussion.
Yeah. No, it's good. That
I hope
helps.
that's not a distraction to this whole conversation, but
No, not. I think that's because that's the whole point. Is these are traps. Is that
yeah,
in this case the emotive blow up,
yeah,
the how could they do that
yeah,
prevents you from seeing that example you just gave of the cases of abuse.
yeah,
So then you can, with your mind first,
hmm,
you can go into that knowing why they're doing that.
yeah,
Because they're not doing it because they hate parents or they think that
right,
the family is not sacrosanct or something like that. They
right.
have a reason. And the
Teachers
emotive,
have emails, and if a
yeah.
kid emails a teacher and cries because tonight, you know something happened in my home and I'm very upset,
Mhm.
and the teacher is not allowed to have confidential emails with a student, but a lot of them do it because they see a kid in crisis and they want to help them. And so there's a real dilemma. Teachers get into education because they love kids and they want to help them, and yet uh, private emails with a minor is never appropriate, especially an opposite sex minor. So those are all just complicated conversations, and if you can't have them with a comprehension of both sides of the argument, and being able to state both cases passionately, then you lose the ability, or if you get hijacked by your emotion or they're hijacked by theirs. It's why we get stuck so much in our culture.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah, we hope this has been helpful. Hope this hasn't been too not triggering too many emotions in the listeners, but I think this is really, you got to get specific. For me, that's how I learn. Is you
Yeah.
have to get
Yeah.
specific, otherwise it's too abstract.
Yeah.
Some action items for quarter 2. Find one piece of content this week, an article, video, or podcast from someone you specifically disagree with.
Mhm.
So, again, to try and it's almost like it's a boundary test. It's saying like, how pigeonholed am I in this?
Yeah.
I think that's great.
Yeah. It's really interesting because if you never hear, especially an intelligent argument from someone you disagree with, if all they're doing is slandering and name calling you, that's not helpful. But
No,
if they're actually having an intelligent conversation about something you disagree with, that's very helpful,
yeah.
and yeah, it can help you
Let me
grow.
narrow that. Let me narrow that to someone of good faith. Someone of
Yeah,
good faith you disagree with,
yeah,
not one of these kind of rage baiters.
yeah.
That they make their money off emotive
Right,
overstatements. Not
right.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. All right. The second one is next time you have a strong emotional reaction to something that you read or hear, wait 24 hours before forming a formal opinion, which means don't tell anybody what you think about it yet. Just wait and see what changes over 24 hours. See if it softens, see if you still hold it passionately, but take some time just to pause.
Love it. Third action item idea. Again, just all ideas. Take them or leave
Mhm.
them. Identify your 3 most unshakable beliefs. Pick one and spend 20 minutes reading the best argument against it.
Mm.
Again, not even with the goal of changing your mind, just to if anything strengthen your own convictions.
Yeah. Now, my partner in crime here, John, is a passionate hater of AI. So he will
Mm.
hate this idea. But one thing you can do is put your argument in an AI thing and say, tell me everywhere I could be wrong, and then tell me why what you just told me could be wrong. What's the weakness of my argument, and what's the weakness of that one? And it really starts breaking things down for you. So John will hate you for doing it, but do it anyway if it
Yeah,
helps you.
don't do that. In fact, you're gonna get AI hallucinations that give you wrong information anyway. So don't do that.
Okay,
Or
there you
if
go.
you do it, ask it to give you its sources and click on those sources and read those sources.
You do always need to say, give me the sources. All right. Number 4, ask yourself this week, am I this confident about this thing because I've thought it through or because my tribe is confident about it? Be ruthlessly honest.
Yeah, very helpful.
Yeah.
All right, into halftime book recommendations. My favorite part of every episode. We take a break to talk about books because we believe all men should be readers. All human beings should be readers, but women read more than men. We're talking to men.
Yeah.
Men should read a book.
Absolutely. We want you to read. All right, John, what do you
Yeah.
got?
All right, this week I've got one that hopefully most men already read. When I was in school, this was required reading. This is Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury. Of all the books I was forced to read, there's a few good ones. When you get into high school, well, actually, we had to read To Kill a Mockingbird in middle school. That was great.
Mm,
But some of them are stinkers. This one, when I read, was the only one I read in all of school that lit me up. No pun intended. It's about burning books. But I mean, just Ray Bradbury as a writer is just so good. And I love short books. This one is uh, under 200 pages, just under.
wow.
And it's about a future state of assumed truths. It's all about assumed truths and propaganda, and really what we'll get into a quarter 4 of seeing the present by the past,
Yeah.
and as one of the only clear ways to see the present. Really good, fantastic writing, fantastic characterizations, really imaginative. My favorite of the dystopian books they make you read in school. I think it blows 1984 out of the water. But
Well, that's really interesting. And I'm going to make a confession, John. I've not read that book, and I didn't read a single required book in school. So I did not read my first book till I was in college.
Dang.
Yeah. And so what I did with those assignments was cheat off somebody or get the little Cliffs Notes. You could go to the store. They had these
Yeah.
little yellow booklets called Cliffs Notes,
Hmm.
and I would write an entire paper from the Cliffs Notes. So I am embarrassed to say there's a lot. In fact, To Kill a Mockingbird, I've never read it. So
It's not too
uh,
late.
I know, I know. So now you got me lit up about that one. So I want to read it.
It's really good.
All right, my book suggestion today, and this is I want to give this with disclaimers. So wait for the disclaimers. This is called Iron John by
Mm,
Robert Bly. Iron John.
terrific cover.
It is a great cover, and it's a book about men. Now, this book was written in 1990, so 36 years ago. It is a New York Times bestseller. It's a gold standard in the discussion of men's books.
Hmm.
I got it because I'm doing a bunch of research right now on our next project, and this book is about it's about men. It's about the incredible impact uh, of fatherlessness
Mm,
and detached fathers. It is about men who are passive and weak and incapable of leadership. It is all the trauma, the anxiety, all that comes from boys not having strong fathers. And he's an advocate for some initiation methods. So, some rites of passage, some intentional ways for fathers to welcome their sons to manhood. And so that's what our next project is on rites of passage, and I'm super excited about it. And this is one of the books. Now, my disclaimer: Robert Bly is a poet, not a theologian. So he is a poet. He's very well written, and he's very thoughtful, and he nails the problem. He does not believe that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And so I would say that his foundation for the answer side of that equation is sand. But his diagnosis of the problem is rock solid. So a very compelling read anyway. So I'm a big fan of reading things that again that don't agree entirely with you. And
yeah,
so this is the reason I got this. But really, really powerful read.
I love that. That's a pretty good segue into quarter three, what good thinking looks like. So
Yeah,
you read Iron John,
yeah,
and you read it level headedly, and
hmm
you saw the wisdom in the, what would it be, the diagnosis,
yeah,
and then you weighed what he said as far as the treatment against what you believe,
yes,
and you were to take the good and leave what you didn't agree with.
yeah. It's interesting. For as old as this book is, one of his solutions is that men get wild.
Mm,
And so he says we've been passive and soft and weak and afraid, and it's time for men to get wild and passionate and fully alive and loud and strong. And so that's not entirely wrong, and that's not a solution. That's a symptom. And
mm.
so yeah, but
That's trying to fix it behaviorally,
yes,
is kind of what you're saying.
yeah, yeah. So but it's helpful thought. It's provoking thought, and then you this is my own word, but you gospel his uh, his his information. So this data, you gospel that. How do his solutions align with God's solutions? And if they don't
Mhm.
match, then I'll go with God's. But I'm really appreciating the expansion of my thoughts and my peek into another way of viewing the problem and the solution. So uh, thinking well is to have intellectual humility, and I think that's a big part of this is um, to to recognize that, and this is maybe super countercultural, but to say I don't know yet is
Yeah.
a powerful thing, and in our culture,
Well,
that's considered weakness.
and so the in the digital age, in the digital media age, everyone has the platform, and the platform is a responsibility, right? And
Hmm
so if you had a speaking position, it's your responsibility to speak.
hmm
In the times when a voice was a privilege,
Yeah.
if someone got up on their privileged platform and said, "Oh," you would go, "Get off there! What are you doing?" But now everyone has that platform, so everyone has this prodding to speak and to give their take and their opinion, their beliefs. So I think that is why I don't know, or even silence is endangered or disrespected, but it actually is, and especially interpersonally. That's why people behave differently in person as they do online.
hmm
But it is, I think, the truest sign of someone who's actually thinking, as opposed to trying to win.
Yeah, and silence is a big deal. And in our culture, silence is either ignorance or passivity or a refusal to care. And none of that's true. Silence is powerful and it's developmental and it's helpful. So don't be trigger happy like the culture wants you to be. which brings to another thought. So much of our information is given to us in, you know, bits and bytes and clips and TikToks and short form communication. So read longer things and know the difference between fact, opinion, and narrative. So John, let's talk about that, because when you get short form communication, it is almost always passionately one of those things: fact, narrative, or opinion. What's the
Mhm.
difference between those three, and why does it matter?
It's a genre difference. It's really interesting in biblical scholarship. You come up against this in a biblical inerrancy. You go, well, did the was this thing, what would it be? I'm trying to think.
Prescriptive or descriptive?
Yeah, or is it poetic? I'm saying the
Oh, yeah.
genre.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Is
Yep.
this a narrative? Is it history? Is it poetry?
Yep.
So I think people have a
Is it
decent handle of
allegory?
that. Is it
Yep.
allegory? People have a decent handle on that with contemporary writing. But between these three, the fact, opinion, and narrative, the walls are gone.
Mm-hmm.
So normally, especially as we lose this kind of fortress of legacy media, and
Mm-hmm.
we go into the obscure future of personality media, personality news,
Yeah.
and all those three things get corded into one, into this rope, and discerning those. That's why you go to the primaries. The pundit takes those three and braids them. The primary sources are always one of those three. They're
Yeah.
rarely more than one of those three: fact, opinion, and narrative. I
Yeah.
think discerning those is pretty clear when you're looking at the primary source. I think just no one's media literacy, I think, is that bad where it wouldn't be clear.
Well, I don't think anybody doesn't, I don't think anyone lacks the capacity to discern those differences, but we don't do it.
Right, you're not
So
looking out for it.
we read something
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
might be narrative or might be opinion, but we take it as fact, because we haven't thought critically about, wait, he's just telling his opinion,
Mm-hmm,
but it sounds like he's stating the facts.
mm-hmm.
And so I think it's helpful to recognize that, and this is why long form articles, uh, news, reading longer things, listening to longer conversations. Our podcast, John, we keep trying to get it under an hour, and yet this long form of conversation allows you to process something better. Um, so short form communication is a challenging way to get your information.
Well, and I'll advocate again for reading because of we've talked about this before, the interface of reading. So right now we're talking at you. We're not
Mm-hmm.
even in the same room. We're just talking at you. Even if we were, it still wouldn't be the same level of interface, mental
Yeah,
interface
yeah,
as reading. It's this mind on mind thing. And it has to be done with full focus. So it's one of the reasons um, everyone I love listens to audiobooks, and I don't want to hurt any of their feelings. But one of the reasons it's different is because you are always listening to your audiobook while you do something else.
mm,
Reading takes 100% of what you are. It's what you are doing in that moment is reading.
yeah.
So I'll advocate for that again there.
Well, and that's the big debate. So, listener, make your own opinion. Is listening to a book reading? Can you say, I read that book? Or do you have to say, I listened to that book? That's a big debate for John and his friends. So, if you want to nerd
It
out on
is.
that, John and those guys will do it for you.
Yeah,
But
if you want to hop in the comments and show me how outnumbered I am, please do it.
okay, I want to also talk about how your character shapes how you think. Henry Cloud says that there are three kinds of people: there are wise people, foolish people, and evil people. And how do you know which one you're dealing with? And I love this. I've never forgotten it. I think it's really helpful.
Is it what you said? Wise, foolish, and evil.
Wise, foolish, and evil. A
Very
wise
interesting.
person, and this is based on the correction they get. So this speaks to a man who resists correction is a fool, and a
Mm-hmm.
fearful man avoids hard truths. So this is a cry for you to be wise. If you correct a wise person, they go, "Oh, thank you." They are grateful for the correction. They change their course and they improve. That's a wise person. If you correct a fool, the fool will say, "Well, you just don't understand. You misread me. You don't understand what I'm really doing. Actually, I'm not wrong." They defensive, and they're frustrated that you even brought it up. And the evil person punishes you for trying to correct them.
Mm.
Now you're an enemy. You are evil. You are mean. You are hateful, and they will attack you for trying to correct them. That's how you know if you're dealing
Interesting.
with a wise person, a foolish person, or evil person. And
Yeah.
more importantly, here is, are you a wise person, a foolish person, or an evil person? When you
Yeah.
read something corrective, when somebody says something to you, hey, you need to think about this differently, or have you considered this? If you're a wise person, you go, man, thank you. That's a new way to think about that. I need to process that.
Yeah.
And then you decide what to do with it. A fool says, well, you're just wrong. You're just wrong. Uh, and then the evil person says, you are evil. You are,
Yeah.
yeah.
So this is bottom up formation. So we can't quit talking about this, the iceberg of identity and
Hmm.
action.
Hmm.
So you might say, man, I react poorly to correction or to new information. I want to stop doing
Hmm.
that. I want to react differently. So then you're targeting just the very tip of the iceberg, just the visible behavior that you and everybody else can see. But really, this is what we say, that character shapes how you think, is it's your identity. So you should instead seek to be a wise
Wow.
person, and it goes all the way to the top.
Yeah.
So, and even that, it's very complicated. We talk about actions reinforce who you are, but always who you are starts first. There's a little bit of fake it till you make it, a little bit of like self talk mantra, but it's not fake. It's very real. I still don't have a great way to communicate it. It seems like a paradox, you know?
Well, yeah, but I think that the iceberg thing is helpful because there's the massive majority is below the surface, and uh, it takes an adventurer to go there and
Mm,
explore. And if you don't explore, you don't realize where your character's coming from, why you're doing what you're doing, or even what problem you're trying to solve.
yeah.
So I had a conversation last weekend at lunch with two young men and me and Sue, and we're helping one of the young men process a conflict with a family member and what their appropriate response should be, and whether some boundaries should be put in place or whatever. This lengthy conversation. And man, as we went further and further and further down the iceberg, what suddenly became clear to him and to everyone at the table is his conflict with this family member is rooted in the insistence by his father that he comply for this family member to keep peace in the home and
Mm,
and not have value of his own.
wow.
So he was assigned the task, take one for the team, keep peace in the house. And so this other family member always got what they wanted, always was considered worthy of the effort, while he was told, just get in line.
Yeah.
And that was coloring the conflict he was having with this family member. And it was coloring what approach he would naturally choose to respond to it. But because this light bulb came on, he was given a whole new set of options about how to respond to this wound, because he
Yeah.
recognized that it was deeper than it was. And now he can say, man, I see that. And who do I want to be in light of that information? So it empowered him to make a much wiser and a gospel guided response to this family member, because he now had all the information as to why he felt the way he felt. And that leads to this
Well,
thought, John.
hold on. That's so powerful in this conversation. The fool, the wise fool, evil.
Yeah.
The fool might be responding that way because maybe someone has told you your whole life that you're an idiot and your opinion
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter. You don't know what
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about. So as soon as someone tries to give you new information, what you hear is you're calling me an idiot,
Yep.
and it's immediately combative. So things
Yes.
like that, diving deep like that, always bears fruit in the action that you want if you want
It
to respond more
it
wise.
does. And that's where a fool will stay foolish because it's comfortable.
Mhm.
And a wise person, wisdom begins with the fear of the Lord. So a wise person says, man, God, I want to be all you can make me to be. I want to be whole. I want to be healthy. I want to be free. I want to be, whatever.
Yeah.
And all of that too links to this other thought, John, that thinking well is a love act.
Mm.
So when you decide, I'm going to think well, I'm going to think critically, I'm going to think clearly, that is a that is a powerful expression of love, because when you reason carefully, you protect people around you from bad conclusions, and you lead with clarity instead of chaos, and you shape your family with healthy, beautiful things,
Yeah.
and you allow them to think critically and wholly. So it's an incredible act of love.
And because the truth is, yes, it's so much bigger than you. So so far we've talked a lot about kind of abstract social media relationships,
Hmm.
but thinking this way colors everything you do because it colors what you believe.
Yeah.
So this is, yeah, getting your stuff in order in this arena
Hmm.
is an act of love for everybody that has front row access to you and vice versa.
Yeah.
That's huge. I think that's so big, and uh really roots you in this conversation, that
Yeah.
this truly matters, and not for the reason you think. It doesn't matter because if you figure this out, you can stop the what X and X crisis. If
Hmm.
I figure out what I think about the Iran war, I can have some kind of impact there.
And
That's
I can make
ridiculous.
the world a better place.
Exactly. That is
Yeah.
so ridiculous. But the truth is that learning how to think correctly here has a broader impact in your actual
Yeah.
sphere of influence, the people in your life.
So, John, I'm going
That's
to put
huge.
you on the spot.
Yeah, go ahead.
When is the last time you changed your mind about something important, and what actually caused you to do that?
It happens a lot. It happens
Really?
all the time. I think the biggest one, the first one I can remember is this is could be a huge bomb, but it was uh, you know, gay people saying that I was born this way, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'd always believed that that was not true, that there was maybe some kind of early childhood trauma they didn't remember, that there was always
Right.
some stimulus that made them that way, until I came across this study about we talked a lot about it, about the hormonal baths of in utero babies
Hmm. Hmm.
and how that composition changes depending on their birth order. If they're the third son, their odds of being gay go up, about all these physiological
Right.
things that happen to people who later in life would claim that identity. So I was just flat wrong. And so the implications of that are, um, that God did. I mean, if they're formed in their womb, they were born with destined to be same sex attracted, and they're formed that way. And so that's new data, and I have to rearrange how I think. It doesn't end up being that much of a different question than how does God form people with other abnormalities in the literal senses and not normative.
Hmm.
Um, and so that's the big one that comes to mind. But it happens pretty regularly.
Well, I think it speaks highly of you that it happens regularly, because that means your mind continues to be open and willing to evaluate critically, almost everything. Um, for the record, I think that my view on that subject, since it came up, is that there is no proof that the predisposition exists prior to birth, but it might as well. Either way, it's an irrelevant conversation because it feels like it is.
Right.
So no
That in
person
the life, it doesn't actually matter.
in life,
Yeah.
they just never had any other
Right.
desire. So to
Right.
me, I don't really need to know. They haven't found a gene. They keep looking for a DNA thing or something. And this hormonal bath you describe is certainly an input. It's a
Yeah.
thing. Uh,
So yeah, so then the process goes like this to play this one out, since we're so
yeah,
deep in this
yeah,
specific case.
yeah.
Is I could go, okay, I'm going to release my orthodox Christian social teaching
Right.
because I now believe this, or I can go, well, these are both true,
Hmm.
and people are born with disordered affections every day.
Yeah.
I've got a list longer than my arm. Uh, and I don't want to be. That's a callous way to talk about all this, but that's how that reasoning looked. I have these things that this new truth did not dissuade my old truth, but I
Right.
don't just go, I don't like that. That study can't be right. Those scientists are atheists and idiots, and they don't love God.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
no, that's it. That's science. That seems pretty true,
Hmm.
and you can reconcile these things.
Yeah. And so two things can be true at the same time. And the world is a broken place. So there's no doubt about that. Yeah. All right,
Yeah,
John. Let's get into action items here, and then we'll jump into quarter four and start moving towards the finish line here.
yeah, sounds good. First action item would be to read one long thing this week. Love that. Not a summary, either a chapter or an essay or a long article. I've been really enjoying Substack, which is funny because most people on there are also very silly. It's not a place for a lot of serious scholarly or
Yeah.
scientific writing.
Yeah.
But it is. I think it's good for the brain, even if it's not the most serious thing on there. But read something long.
Yeah. Number two, practice the fact opinion narrative test. Not because it'll necessarily change what you think about it, but it'll help you quicken your mind. Oh, that's an opinion. Oh, that's a fact. Oh, that has become a narrative that came from something else. So just take one news story or social media post and sort every sentence into one of those three categories. Is that fact? Is
Hmm.
that opinion? Is that narrative? Just for
That's
mental
cool.
exercise. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Practice saying, another idea would be practice saying, I don't know, or I was wrong once this week. For some of you, it might be the same time, the first time you've ever said that. Could be.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's very freeing. I think you'll find if you're not used to saying that, as soon as you give yourself permission to say it, it's very freeing. I love saying, I don't know.
You and I are trading FOMO for JOMO. Instead of instead of fear of missing out, we're in the
Yeah.
joy of missing out.
Yeah.
And it could be fear of I don't know to the joy of I don't know. Could be the same thing.
Could be. Yeah.
All right, fourth quarter, John. The past,
FOIDK. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway.
The past defines the present. Walk us through what we're doing here.
Yeah, so this is I've got this stuck in my craw. How do you like that? I love that
I,
saying. What's
I
stuck in your
got
craw?
a rock stuck in my craw.
Rock stuck in my craw. Is I've talked about this before on ideas like this. What the first one that came to mind was for me was learning what transhumanism was. I grew up, I told you this about this kind of idea, and you said I never told you that. You got kind of got your. I said I never claimed you told me this. You grow up in a world where in the cartoons you can upload a consciousness, or there'll be a little robot that's a brain in a robot, and there's all these things where you believe, oh, the message is what I am is just my brain,
Right.
and the body is just this kind of robot that I can swap parts off. I can, and some things culturally, all of the elders in my life, of the elder men in my life, had vasectomies after they were done having kids.
Mm.
So okay, you can go in there and flick that switch off because you don't want it anymore.
Yeah.
And there's things like that, and that's transhumanism. And so I find out what that has a name, and I go, whoa, hold on, that's not a given. That's an ideology. That is something that people that not everyone thought that way forever, and not everyone thinks that way today. It's
So
not a given.
would like plastic surgery fit into that? Like if I
Yeah.
wanted to get the bags out from under my eyes, or
Hmm.
whatever.
Yeah. So and then yeah, it's like, and so all of this is not even necessarily a tirade against transhumanism,
Hmm.
only that it has a name.
Yeah.
And then so I thought that was basically it, that it was kind of shallow. I was like, oh, okay, there's this much that I got indoctrinated on.
Right.
And again, you can be indoctrinated on good things. I don't think,
Sure. Sure.
but then I realized, oh no, I don't know where this stops. I don't, you're getting pulling on the rope. I don't know when this rope's going to run out on the amount of things. Our rooted life episode is one of my favorites, and talking about money and retirement,
Yeah.
how much a kind of bottom line capitalist brainwashing I've had for retirement and what that means, what that looks like.
Right.
So this is how the past defines the present. The only way that you can see clearly and think clearly about progress and modern thought is past thought, and reading past thought and reading biographies of people in the past.
Now,
What do you
why
think
is
about all
that
this?
why is that the only way you can know?
Because how?
The, the only way I can, so let me say it the
Yeah, sure,
simpleton's ways. I think what you're saying is the only way I can really understand the moment I'm in is to understand the moments that got me to this moment. The
sure.
only way I can
Yeah,
understand the world I live in is to understand how the world used to be and how it got to who it is.
a little, but
Okay,
mostly
help me out.
thinking about contrast. So imagine
Okay,
you're zoomed in to a full white, and you go, I wonder how far this white goes.
yeah,
You have to actually zoom out to see where it transitions.
yeah,
That's where you see what present thought even is.
yeah,
But contrast in things like some modern thought, right? Empathy as the only virtue,
yeah.
that all other morality is wish-washy, but empathy is the chief or the only. Or liberty and autonomy are the highest values. Anything at all that would infringe on liberty or autonomy is a moral wrong.
And when you put
These are,
those three together,
yeah,
empathy, autonomy, and what was the other one?
liberty.
Liberty. Then morality is it is a imposing force on those.
Yeah.
So morality itself becomes the enemy because it's imposing its will on those three.
Yeah. So without a historical contrast, how would you ever know that that's not just how humans have always thought, that that is the moral law of all humankind forever?
Right.
We see the contrast when we read the ancient scriptures. We see the contrast when we learn about ancient empires that executed thousands of people,
Hmm.
and that kind of moral evil. And we go, wait, how come we still don't believe that that's okay?
Right.
There's
Right.
that. As soon as you see the contrast, you can finally see what modernity believes, and there's a lot of good there. My bent is to think, oh, progress isn't even real. Progress is not possible, but it's clearly not true. There are so many, even a group like the Catholics who believe in their sacred magisterium. They still develop. They have doctrinal development. Things
Hmm.
do. The church today looks more like Jesus than the church, 1,500 years ago. I think is probably fair to say in a lot of ways.
Well, I
So
think
that's I'm talking in circles now, but does that
no,
answer your question on
you're
the?
doing
Yeah.
great. Yeah. I think, one of the things I did years ago is I made a 6 month commitment that I would not read anything that was written after 1910. I don't know why I
Mm,
chose that year,
I was gonna ask.
but I limited everything I read had to be written before 1910. And man, you talk about seeing the world through a different set of lenses. You're realizing these people think completely differently,
Mhm.
and so it is incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
I think, John, I I, um, I have two thoughts from previous conversations with you that are pressing forward in my brain. I'm going to do the one that I think fits this conversation the most.
Okay.
One of the things that when you and I were talking about this, we happened to be in the same space a week or so ago, and we were talking about this topic. And one of the things that came out of that conversation was the idea that all of history got you right here.
Yeah.
But now nothing is certain from this moment to the next one. And you
Hmm.
have enormous creative power.
Hmm.
So one of the things I like about what you're saying is how do I how do I choose the future, create the future best by
Hmm.
knowing as much as I can about what got me right here.
Yeah.
And so it's really in my mind, a big part of this is being informed about how people used to think and even what changed. So we, uh, Now I'm talking in circles, but what excited me and what gave me a sense of empowerment is everything that got me here, both good, bad, and ugly, painful and true. And this is why I'm not a fan of us rewriting our history and taking out the ugly parts and pretending that that slavery wasn't a thing or the Holocaust didn't happen or whatever.
Hmm.
I'm in favor of keeping it all there because it's what got us here. And now everything in front of us is open exploration, and we get to help create it.
Yeah.
And I love that notion. And is that touching what you're talking about with the past and present?
Yeah, I think so. So I imagine a line graph, and you have trends, right?
Yeah.
So the data point starts here and ends here, and you go, oh, we're trending.
Hmm.
This is going to go like this forever,
Yeah.
right? Or and then you can go the other way. The last data point or the first data point's down here, so you think, oh, it must have been really really bad before.
Yeah.
So if people say this very in because we don't know our history, people speak in vague terms. They go, back in the day,
Yeah.
life for women was really hard. And he goes, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
There were eras and places in human history where life was brutally hard for women, and there was eras and places in history 1,000 years ago where it was actually pretty pleasant for women. It's not this like the before times. There's the
Mm.
before darkness, and now we are blessed to be in the light of of enlightenment, and it's all up into the right, baby. So that's what history does. Is you go. So as far as your question for the future, we are on right this moment the bleeding edge of history,
Hmm.
and what you assume about reality and about the present and about the past determines what you predict or assume, how you plan, how you think, how you lead your family and your friends, and the work you pursue. You know,
Now, tell me in one sentence or so why that fits into this whole conversation we're having today about thinking better.
because most of what you are going to hear, like we talked about, there's fact, opinion, and narrative. Most of what you're going to hear is not data. Most of what you're going to hear is judgment calls.
Hmm.
That's 98% of what you're going to hear on the internet is judgment calls. And what we said in the beginning, cultivating wisdom, you have to decide for yourself what you are going to take and what are you going to leave. So there's progress, and we say, the Southern Baptist Convention. I'm becoming a church nerd. I never thought I would become one, but lately I am. Southern Baptist Convention just declared that they will not have women preachers or pastors. I forget the exact nomenclature. You have to decide for you and your house. Is that a good or a bad thing? Is
Hmm.
that progress or is that a regression?
Hmm.
Is that what's the word? Draconic? Is that draconic or is that orthodox? Those you have to decide for you. And so the only way to make sure you're not actually deciding on a incorrect mindset, in my opinion, is to zoom out as far as you possibly can to get a more accurate image of reality
Hmm.
so that you can judge the present things as they come within reality.
I like that. I
That's how
think
I think. Hopefully, this isn't just shoehorning something I want to talk about into this conversation.
no, I like it, and I think that the contrast is that most of the conversation in the world today has the depth of a teaspoon
Mhm.
versus the depth of the ocean of history that's behind it.
Yeah,
So it is therefore limited in its informed depth.
hmm
So therefore, we're staying shallow. So it's helpful to understand there's a whole lot under there. There's a whole lot of ways people have thought in the past. There's a whole lot of things that have happened that got us here. And the more I know about that, the more well informed I am to not repeat history,
yeah,
or to make a smarter opinion. This
yeah,
your example about the Southern Baptist is really significant. Because is that orthodoxy, or is that
yeah. Is
oppression?
that
Is
is
it a
that bending to the times? Or
yeah?
yeah, yeah. One of my favorites actually is I learned after we kidnapped the leader of Venezuela, right? I think
Hmm.
late last year, early this year. That George H.W. had done that exact same thing to the leader of Ecuador. He kidnapped him and brought him here to face trial for his crimes.
Hmm.
I was like, oh, because you read that and you go, Trump's gone crazy again. And it probably was pretty crazy. But then you go, wait, this is part of a playbook. We've done this exact thing about 40 years ago.
Right,
Oh my
right.
God, that changes everything. That
Yeah,
changes everything.
yeah,
So even just something like that.
yeah. All right,
Yeah.
let's get to action items, John.
Yeah.
We got three here.
Yeah. I would say first action item would be to read one thing from, or again, a biography of one person who lived before the 20th century. 1910 is good enough. We could say we can keep it with 1910. Before
Yeah,
that, read something from before that, which can be challenging because of the
yeah,
language, or a biography of a person who lived before that, and
yeah,
just see what were their morals.
yeah,
What did they think was a good life? What did a good man do?
yeah.
This is huge. Yeah.
It is very good. Secondly, inventory your closest held beliefs and opinions, and ask yourself where and when does that opinion come from. So
Mhm.
take one thing you believe and dive on that a little bit. Where did that come from, and when did it come from? How long have people believed this? And was there ever a time when people believed something different?
Yeah. It's good. Third would be to invite a trusted elder into your questions and discernments. So obviously, no one's been alive since whatever the Middle Ages,
Yeah,
but what lived memory is still very significant. Things have changed a lot in the past 50 years.
yeah,
So someone you trust, invite them into your meditations on these things, what they think about some of these unprecedented times, if they are really unprecedented.
yeah. I want to throw in one last perk to thinking well is you make much better conversations.
True.
A lot of guys say, I don't have anything to talk about. I don't know what to talk about. I'm on a date and I don't know what to talk about. The more you think and the better you think, the more fun conversations are.
No doubt.
And so that's a perk even on that's the cherry on top of that cake.
Yeah. A lot of this we could call curiosity. So much of
Yes.
wisdom is curiosity. Don't
Yes.
settle for when you've reached your comfort of I've been affirmed. I can stop now.
Yeah.
Try and be curious.
I heard an old guy. Your action item there was talk to an elder. I was in a room and this older man was giving a talk, and he said that there was a time in his younger life when he was wrestling with a belief, And he talked to his dad about it. And his dad, helped him process some thoughts and stuff. Well, then his dad talked to him 2 weeks later and said, "Hey, did you reach a conclusion on that matter?"
Mm.
And I said, "Well, yes, I did." He said, "Oh, that's too bad." And he said, "Why is that bad?" He said, "Because once you reach a conclusion, you turn off your brain and quit thinking." So that
And then the dad put on his sunglasses and walked away. He's
dropped the mic.
yeah.
But that story has made me say I have a current conviction about that.
Oh, sure.
Instead of saying I have a conclusive belief about it.
Yeah,
There are a handful of things I have strong, conclusive, nothing will move me off center beliefs, but I have thousands of current convictions.
that's great.
And that keeps you curious and it keeps you from being defensive and angry and mean when people think differently than you.
No doubt. That's great. Thank you guys so much for listening. I don't know when we've probably been going kind of long. So thank you for your time.
Yeah.
More than anything, we really appreciate your time. We have our next book coming out. We love you to read. You don't have to read our book, but it's pretty good. And it is called Relationship Genius. And it is 10 laws or guidances for every kind of relationship that you have in the modern world. So romantic, platonic, professional. And we think it's really good. It'll be coming out this month, later in June.
And it's better than good. I think this is the best thing we've ever written, and I'm really excited about it. So watch for that. We're
Yeah.
excited for it.
Thank you guys.
All right. Have a great day.